Welcome World. World Peace One is an independent research and action platform asking a simple but enormous question. How do civilizations transition from organizing around extraction toward organizing around life? These conversations take us to people and places already experimenting with that transition. For Talk 001, we connect Sarajevo and Tamera. I am Alea Solaris speaking with Monika Alleweldt, who has spent nearly 40 years living and working at Tamera Peace Research Village in Portugal. We're not looking for a blueprint. We're interested in what becomes visible when different ways of knowing meet. Welcome to World Peace One.
Right on time. Welcome, Miss Monica, checking in from Tamera. And this is our World Peace One talks, where we talk to and connect with those lovely people from around the world who are engaged with this type of activation. So we don't have any agendas here. We open the field, which is alive, as we know, and call in support from all the allies from the visible and invisible realms, all those working for the light on our dear mother planet Earth. So I usually call the dragons. They're like my supporters, and
So do
the dragons. Yes, they are the kind of primordial forces of that are being activated, and not in this like mythical sense, but very much as an energy field. Angels and archangels, and of course Mother Earth and all the sentient beings and all those attending to give us kind of support and protection today. So welcome to World Peace One. And I'm not going to do the introduction because I can do it. I think you can do it much better, Monica. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your mission, and why are we here?
well, thank you first of all for the invitation, and thank you for the nice background you are in front of. What I can see now, it's um, at least not usual, not conventional. So I guess our talk will be also not like a conventional talk about peace or something. Yeah, I hope so. So you invited also quite some forces already, and yes. Telling about me, I'm sitting here in Portugal. It is hot, though it is for me okay. It is still between 30 and 40. It's not above 40 yet. Um, Green around me, birds around me. Peaceful, actually, a very, very peaceful and quiet atmosphere I'm in. And so I can say I'm really blessed to be at such a point in the universe. And from there, of course, I can only say I want to share. I want to give power to to all those who need it, love and care for all those who need it. It's like the privilege. You turn the privilege into a duty or into a task. Yeah. My name is Monika, and I'm engaged in a community project, in a very radical community project. I could say almost maybe it's the most radical in our time. It started off with thoughts around love and sexuality as core issues to be addressed if we want to have peace, because here are the deepest wounds in humans. And to have a knowledge in these areas, what is driving us, what is how do we envision love, what do we do when we love, what is jealousy, what is fear of loss, what is a woman, what is a man, what is polarity. All these questions we are already working for such a long time. And around this, we noticed more and more that you cannot just only look at one point, because everything is so interconnected. When you come down to the truth, then you have to say, okay, our connection to the animal kingdom has to be changed, because also there is a misunderstanding. And our connection to water, our connection to elements, to the planet, to other beings, to people, especially to other people of other colors, other cultures. So everything has to be changed from a connection to violence to a connection with peace, a new ally. Yeah, alliance, maybe that's a better word. Yeah, it's a little bit hard always, no, to talk in languages which are not really our mother tongue, and then to find the right words. So whoever's listening to this, very likely also not all English speaker, they may apologize. Yeah.
What is alliance in German?
I wouldn't say the word Allianz. There is this word.
Uh-huh.
It's now I don't even I don't even get it because I'm
How
brain
would
is
you make this like the
open.
network, right?
Yeah, it's the network. It's the friend actually. It's just the partner. There is also a beautiful word. It's coming more from the political parties. It's Genosse, or it's comrade. It's friend. It's now I don't know any other word. Yeah, colleague.
Yeah, so not the other, but the other is part of us. That's maybe the key, because the whole system is structured, as you know. So Monica, now just a bit of background. This community radical project she's mentioning is Tamera, which is probably known to a lot of people kind of engaged in our work. And it is based in Portugal. And she's checking in from there. So on the background of our meeting, I was just in Portugal for a month, or 3 weeks rather, but that ended up being, instead of my training, it ended up being a decolonial mission, which is always like, I'm sent, I think I mentioned it, so this is that unusual part. Maybe we'll go into like political shamanism. It was a decolonial mission, so it wasn't there so much for my training. I was there to be this element of friction in their established system that was asking questions about colonial role of Portugal as a necessary unwinding. But that whole system, like what I shared with Monica, is this virus program. So we said the virus is the separation, and the source code is the relationship. So maybe it's kind of what you're getting to, is like this, that word, like what is the word, is that they've constructed the whole system about the other. So all the identities are often not the positives, often it's the negatives, like we're not this, we're not that. It's a lot of that in the world. And the other is always constructed as this, not us, in the political sphere, right? That's how they make the borders. That's how they made the colonies, the empires. But maybe the other is just the other us, right? It's like our mirror. So it's like part of us. Was that something maybe that's resonating if we try to come up with this definition?
Well, I would say the other and me, we are both part of the same. They are
Right,
neither part of
exactly. So it's
me
not
nor
the
I'm.
other, it's
No.
me. Right, it's the other me.
Well, we are both part of the same means that neither he or the other is me, nor I am part of the other.
Uh-huh.
But as I said, we are both part. There are aspects in in each one of us which
Uh-huh.
stem from the same origin. So we have the possibility to always understand each other instead
Mm-hmm.
of having divergence or disagreements,
Mm.
or even another language. I mean, we can understand animals
Mm-hmm.
with the sense which we have, and we can also understand another human being
Mm-hmm.
also with senses we have. It might
Mm.
not be our brain, or it might not be our prejudice or what we have learned about the other, but we can feel it into its soul. So this
Mm.
is Yeah, and it is very beautiful that we are different.
That's beautiful.
It,
That's the
yeah,
first word that came
yeah,
to me. Yeah.
yeah, it's very beautiful because to have something opposite where you feel, oh, this is not me, this is
Mm-hmm.
different, and I want to get to know, when you
Mm-hmm.
act or when you react with curiosity instead of with fear, and then also with rejection. You can
Mm-hmm.
also react with love and curiosity and inviting this other strange behavior or whatsoever, not mine, but just not known for me, inviting him into my world. That, and that's interesting. And then eventually you understand the other one has the same feelings as me or the same longings or so. It's yeah, because we come from the same origin. We have the same roots or so.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Exactly. Well, that's a lovely opening, Monica. But now that's you exactly, that's the words that were coming to me is roots. So before we get very kind of philosophical and big ideas and all of this, maybe you can share about your roots and yourself and your journey. And then Tamara, because you've been there for so long. So kind of to give
Mhm.
us this your journey to this, because part of these talks is yes, we have to activate, but it's also helping others understand how to get there. So it's like really this beautiful deep
So,
opening that you just gave us,
mhm.
but where does that come from?
Well, when I was like 12 or so, I
Mm-hmm.
saw what's happening in the world. I saw people suffering. I saw hunger in the world, and I thought that's the first thing I need to do is to end the suffering. And then I started to write to the humanitarian aid agencies and said what we have to learn in order to go there to help. And so, and then they said, ah, wait until you're older. And so finally, I came to I studied agriculture, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do an internship in Central America. And I came to Guatemala. I didn't turn out with the internship. It doesn't matter. Long story. I came there and I saw the genocide. It was at the peak of the genocide. I didn't see very bad things, but what I saw already shocked me so deeply, and especially the insight which I got that everything comes from my own culture. So whatever happens there is actually coming from a culture I'm coming from. I could go there and help.
Mm-hmm.
This would maybe help some people a little bit, could live a little bit better maybe. But the reason, the origin from which this is coming from, I would just help to let it happen further. Yeah, it would. I would just stabilize even the whole bad system in helping. This I understood, and I was totally shocked. It wasn't even yet a clear understanding, but I got sick. I came home, and then I had to lay down for months, and in that time, my systems kind of readjusted and said, no, I will not do this. I will not go into the global south and do their helping work. I need to know where does everything coming from, and how can I change it? How can I really change it?
Mm-hmm.
And this was my question. And I also had at that time love problems already, quite some. And so that was also one thread was always the what is in my relationships? Why do they fail? What's happening? And on the other side, this global question: how can we change the whole thing? And where is there some point where the switch is? And then I went and checked very many concepts and movements, and nothing really convinced me. And then I found Tamera, or the early stages of Tamera, and there I found a theory or a thought line which I could follow, and where I thought, okay, this is really something where this is a new political world which opened up based
Mm-hmm.
on the reality of oneness, and this gives us a completely new possibility to think about change, how change could happen. It's not about big movements. It's not about petitions. It's not about demonstrations. Everything is okay and it's good and it has its place. But the change does not happen through these kind of measures. That's a little bit harsh, maybe, if people still.
No, it's true. No, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's true. And at the same time, I think for many people, it's also necessary to go to the streets to raise the voice and not stay silent. So these are steps. I would call them steps towards always deeper understanding how we can really manifest change. And I cannot say that the path, what I'm now on, is for sure successful. I can only say I go it and maybe it is successful. We have to try. It is so convincing when you see it in the theory that you have to say, okay, let's try it. And how this path looks like, it's a long story. That would need a whole lot more time. Yeah, I wrote a book about it. It's not yet in English. It is a resonance I gave to ideas of the founder of Tamera because I started to go into it, and then I had to own it more and more and more to really make it into my own substance, that I say, now I really understand the way how he envisioned it in his concepts or in his visions, and I found it more and more convincing, as I said. Yeah. And it is aligned with many spiritual sayings, so many spiritual traditions. They say the same thing.
So it's a search, if we have to kind of like bring it, that from young age you've seen the injustice, but what you saw in Guatemala, meaning your culture, is like the Western liberal capitalist system. Is that what you mean by the source or the place where it was coming from?
Yeah.
Right. So then that takes us to that big question, where is it all coming from?
And then
that's, yeah.
When you go deeper, you cannot just say it's the Western culture. You have to say, okay, the culture is carried by people. And so what's wrong with the people? And then you notice, oh, these people are traumatized and they pass on their trauma. And this did not just for many, this happened already a long time ago. This did not just, it wasn't 100 years back. It's already 1,000 years back. And I don't know a theory or a view on how everything started. But I know it has something to do with power over, something to do with losing the connection to our own source, losing, and also with the genders, with men and women. All of this was all of a sudden not in order anymore. It was a transformation which did not succeed somehow. Yeah.
Well, I do have theories because, I'm writing books about this, where it all started, and it's, I'm kind of like looking for the book now to maybe share, but we don't even have to go there. But essentially, it's this separation. We call it the original separation. Because, if you remember that booklet again, it's separation as the virus, relationship as the code. So that's kind of the basis of that. But if you look at the original separation, is when Earth was made a resource. So that's what we say. And that's when the feminine was also removed from the system. So on the basis of that, then you establish this patriarchy, capitalism, extraction-based system that is keeping people in this loop. So part of this kind of control is that they also separated all the traditions. Like what we're kind of doing, and what I really like about Tamera and your guys' founder, where we resonated with those books, is that the spiritual is political. Like, as you remember, I don't know if you do, but it's like, I call this movement, what I do is political shamanism, because literally is that, like, we are bringing things that they separated matter from spirit. They separated politics from spirituality, but those things are all together,
But who is they? And why did the
Yeah, this is your
separation
issue.
happen? Yeah, why
Right.
is the separation? Why did it happen ever? And
Mm-hmm.
I can say maybe it was meant that all of a sudden the human being had to take on a force and had to be separated from the tribe, from because there was an individuation process starting. There was a
Mm-hmm.
reason for everything. Yeah, or I have to. Yeah, I don't know why it happened. That's what I said. Yes, it's true what you're saying. It
It's
started off as separation. That was the trauma, a huge trauma, and that was it's sitting in our heart. But why it happened? Maybe we cannot answer this question yet.
can
Are
you
you?
see the screen now? I
Yeah,
don't know if you have your glasses.
yeah,
So this is like part of these books.
yeah.
And what I say here is how this matrix started. So
Mm.
it did not begin with technology, it began with amnesia, the forgetting of the original world structure, not socially, but cosmologically.
Yeah.
Humanity once lived inside a worldview that was understood as feminine organism, cyclical, regenerative, relational, embodied, mystical, and coherent. Not matriarchy, but matriistic order. Not female rule, but life-centered architecture. And in that world, we had this. The body was compass, water was wisdom, birth was initiation. Then came the shift. Not a war, not a king, but a conceptual coup. Subtle seismic. Creation was re-authored without the mother. And the source became the father. And then we had the whole distortion because the feminine was made unsafe. She was the
This is
temptress, the
I
chaos bringer.
agree
Right.
fully, Julia. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with your analysis, and I'm just only asking a question even before.
Right.
What was the reason for all of this? Yeah, and maybe we
Earth
don't
is a
know. Maybe
laboratory, Monica. So this is when we go into gnosis more. It's like maybe the Gnostics would be the closest. When we say days, more the archons. So I don't know if you subscribe to those doctrines, but essentially to get the source code, because Earth is like on the cosmic level, a production laboratory where spirit becomes matter. This is why all these space races, I mean, in this cosmological view, are interested in this because it actually turns this is where the spirit became embodied, but it had to have this process. But in order to hijack that powerful life creation force, you had to remove the feminine and install the false matrix, which then uses all that life producing force, which is our second chakra, sexual energy, and all of this, to maintain the system of loosh energy control. So it's almost like a colonized, this is why we also talk about decolonization. It's a colonized planet that has a living source, but that was imprisoned in a way. And
but
all of
by
us are
whom?
you by
By
this
whom?
archons. The archons are like, I mean, there's beings like when we kind of really talk about this, is beings that have sophisticated knowledge of reality creation and don't have the best interest in mind. They are kind of like the virus. So this is part of the source that went rogue. But again, that's like a deep, not everybody has to subscribe to this. And maybe it's not even like good to bring this kind of knowledge because it distracts from the real work that we have to do, which is that we are capable of creating humans. We are the ones that create realities, but that force or that power has been hijacked and we are made into like puppets of system creation instead of high beings of source creation. So that's kind of the like, I think that's just enough to know from that cosmology to work with that until higher levels of consciousness open. Because I also don't rush these things. Like you get pieces of information as you kind of open levels, right?
I mean, I'm still in the thought system. When I follow you, I'm still in the thought system that there was some kind of an evil. I don't, no matter whether it's now cosmic or from whatever, which hijacked something. Huh? There's still a subject in the oneness, which
Mm-hmm.
was there, which all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden was evil. And I'm asking only the question: how did ever evil come into existence, and why does it have such why is it such so resilient? Why is it still there? Why can't we correct the whole thing so much more
Mm-hmm.
quickly? So that's what I'm asking. Who is really
Exactly.
um,
Yes.
And then we have to, there is, if I just, on one scale, I can say it's the other, then it's the other nation. And now we are saying, okay, there was something other, what
Right,
kind of like the
exactly.
planet.
I
And
see what you mean.
it's the same thought line. And so we have at
Exactly.
some point to come to a jump on a consciousness level where we all of a sudden start to see with different senses. Otherwise, we are just repeating the
Reproducing.
same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't follow
Exactly.
your
Ex-
analysis after this. This I
mm-hmm.
see clearly. This is exactly how I also see it. But before,
Right.
you can also
But
leave it.
we don't see that as evil. It's like a corruption. So
Yes.
that's the thing. Like for me, it's not this like I don't see it as a binary, but there is a life producing and then a life mimic in a way. I would maybe put it more like that, like versus the good and evil. It's this um something that has its own source and something that needs other things to feed it. And that's maybe where I sit with that cosmology is like what is reproducing and what has the source light and what needs to attach to something else because it lost that connection to the
Yeah,
source
that's the
light.
question. Why did it lose the connection?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a very good question, Monica. So yeah, definitely I'll sit with that. Is like why did it lose that? It's at some point there was this disconnect.
Hmm.
Why? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's open. And
Mm-hmm.
as I said, I think it's maybe also not for our consciousness now to really understand it, because you
Exactly.
said the work is anyway there, no matter how it
Mm-hmm.
happened. No? Yeah.
Exactly. So where does Tamara, so you said I would love to hear about the book and kind of what you interpreted, because I read a little bit about the founder. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the whole history of Tamara for people that are listening. How does it fit within the peace movement and the source and the roots and more about the foundation? So yes, experimenting with love, but what are the
Um,
other
Now
foundations?
I can name it differently. Tamara is behind Tamara is the thought. Don't If you want to overcome a system, like a system which is exploiting our earth and creating wars all over, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to overcome that system, don't fight against it, but
Mm-hmm.
create a new one which makes the old one obsolete. That's
Exactly.
a saying Buckminster Fuller, and I
Mm-hmm.
really like it because it's exactly what we're doing. We are
Mm-hmm.
trying to create a place where all life areas of our life are not connected to violence anymore. And I could start with the outer environment. We can say we want to live on, if you look at the material basis of our life, about where our food comes from, or where our energy comes from, or where the water comes from, so that we take everything in our own responsibility. That's one thing. And that we kind of see that we live regional, that we know where our food comes from, that we know how it is treated, that we don't buy stuff from which has been transported for a long way, all these kind of things. That's the outer world, or energy supply. How we could live on regenerative and energies, of course. And then you look into, let's say, a solar panel, and you see, or a battery, there is
Mm-hmm.
still elements in it where Earth is exploited for. So we have to do research on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it is a little bit sleeping out of other reasons, but we done it. Or with the water, that we say we have to bring water back to the land. The soil is so degraded that there is no topsoil anymore. So when it rains, the rain just flows off. That was the case before. That's the case almost all over, and
Mm-hmm.
creates floods and creates droughts, and the topsoil had the task to store rain, and now we have to replace it. So that's why we created retention spaces. It's a whole measure. It's also known in the world, where we can keep the rainwater on the land, and the land gets revitalized, so that we can grow food again here. And yeah, all these, that's our outer layer of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come to the social fabric, and we can say if we want to have a peaceful life, we have to find ways to heal our trauma, because this trauma is always in the communities. And I can now say, with all my experience, that communities do never fail out of outer reasons. They always fail because of inner reasons, because there is greed, there is hatred, there is competition in the people. That's where the enemy is. It's not outside, it's inside, in us. And this is where we have to win the fight, if we wanted to look at it that way. Yeah, jealousy, it's a huge problem, or unfulfilled love, um, unfulfilled sexuality. And sexuality is a life force. If we suppress it, if we don't live it in a humane way, then it is always in our belly. It's something what is not in peace. So there is also where the work comes from. A single person might be able to still stay peaceful, but a whole society, it's like sitting on a bubble which explodes in almost every second, because there is this huge force not lived, but only in our fantasies and dreams, or in a perverted way, like in a sub underground. Yeah, and this has to be changed. So we are working also on the social area, and then we can also say on the mental area, we have to learn to think differently so that it fits to who we are as human beings. All theories they're no good other than they really liberate ourselves, and we have been betrayed so often that we don't believe in anymore in the theory. They say, go away with your theories. But at the end, we have to have a thinking which says yes to our animal nature, which was yeah, and to our divine nature as well. So, and then we have a whole world around us. We are not an island, so we have to find also measures to think how can we transform the whole world. Because if we only transform our little island, this is not enough. So we have to invite the whole world to think together with us, and it's actually not even our endeavor alone. It's something what I can say. We need much more such islands, which see that they can build a new culture based on peace and trust instead of mistrust and fear. And yeah, and this is Tamera. That's basic thought, the foundational thought behind Tamera. And also the children, how they grow up, what they come from the cosmos. They have so much trust. They have such a courageous heart, and then they are adapted into a society and lose their power. They lose their beauty
Systematically.
Yeah, systematically through all these institutions they have to go through. They are with 6 years old. They are already adapted to a society. Yeah,
Institutionalized.
yeah.
Exactly.
And there we have to check that we don't put our conditions on the children again, and that we really give them the freedom to develop and still give them borders, not just let them be free without any clear orientation. So, yeah, that's all parts of Tamera.
That's lovely. That's exactly where we are thinking now. So that was like before we started the official talk, I said I went to see that activist friend, but all the activists, like what you said about protests and stuff, this is again feeding into the system, because you're giving your energy to something that's not, in a way, and that system is counting on that, and all these fake protests and all these things are created in a way. So yes, it's good to create communities, to have shared voices, and to build some kind of stamina. But if you're, which most of the movement is focusing on the fight, no energy is left for the creation. And so what we're doing now is this new earth is exactly that, is building conditions to this movement, this new place to happen. My question will then be, Monika, to kind of talk about this. But before that, I just want to, again, do a quick share and just show you
Okay,
what.
before we
Do you want to
before
go on?
no, I just want to say something to this. because it's for me it's very important. I also said it wrong in the beginning. It was too charged. When I said all the demonstrations, they are not really bringing the change. I want to soften it. It's because it's not true.
It's true.
These are our allies, no?
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are on the streets, activists, they are very, they are concerned, they are courageous, they at least take a stand. So these are actually allies. We should work together with them. It is not. I don't want to create a field of here we are the good ones who do who create the new
No,
and
not at
we
all.
are
But this
not.
is honest talk, and we're talking about things. I mean, it's time. This is why I don't really. Okay, so a bit about me, and you know this, but I've come from very academic background. I've studied everywhere around the world. I have like from the US, and then I have 3 master's degrees from the UN school official, the European Union official in Poland, and I was again representing Bosnia when Europe joined. So I was in the heart of this big movement in 2003, 2004, which is like very political. So we were all in the school kind of in Poland dreaming what this new Europe could be that was built on idea of no war ever again, right? But there was like all these questions about identity and about what it means. And then also from the US, and my background is peace, but I'm also very much of the street, and I've designed many festivals and I'm working with artists, and there's this total respect. But again, the work that I'm really working on now is like full honest truth, because there is no truth in academia. It is so much co-opted by all these interests. And when we criticize the protest scene, it's not the fighting and the love and the energy they bring. It's how it's used by the loosh system again to extract energy from the people. This is what I mean, Monica, is that like Bosnia. So I'm in the most experimented region of the world, the Balkans. My mom's cousin started World War One. Like Gavrilo Princip is my mom's cousin. Like World War One started in Sarajevo. The last big European war started here. I was a 12-year-old kid, and I was like present in the middle of it. And not only that, I was all over the Bosnia when it was happening. And I was always like aware on a mission, even then, I think. So all of this is from like firsthand experience where we're seeing what's being done. So what they do in Bosnia is that you have people unrest, right? It's a big kind of everybody's, because they're experimenting on us. So there's lots of discontent, a lot of energy buildup that could be used for social change because we need the mass energy. It's a fuel. So what they do is they call a fake protest by one of the Rockefeller foundations or somebody else. And you have people go out on the streets, and within 2 hours, all this fuel is wasted on nothing. You see, nothing gets resolved. These are not real like power. I like lived in Paris in 1999. I was in the center of Paris, and the Frenchies are hardcore, and they make changes with their protests. But these are people-oriented protests. They practice for a long time. What's happening now, if we have to be brutally honest, is like, how do we actually get to that world with no war? Because it's either going to be that we get together and start working, or they're totally gonna erase our memories. Like, the stuff that's coming is pretty brutal. These guys are seriously organized.
I understand, and that there is I can say yes, of course there is also the fake demonstration. I know about this. That's not what I mean. I mean, if I want to really be serious on peace work,
Right.
I don't want to blame anything, but take all the power to myself. And then saying, okay, what am I contributing still? And then I see, oh, so many people believe in demonstrations still. And when they go take to the streets, it's for them a step of courage. So I have to say, yes, it's better than to stay at home and watch TV and don't do anything. So that's what I wanted to say, that
Yeah.
there are, of course, everything can be corrupted today, no? Because we have fear, and we believe in the wrong gods. We don't have orientation in ourselves anymore. That's why we are so, we have lost orientation. And that's what we have to give them back. So, or nah, we have to give them back is also not the right sentence. um,
Well, maybe that's a good segue. Tell us how. So we know about Tamera's principles, and you've been there for 30 years.
mhm, mhm.
What has been, it was supposed to be, from what I know, one of the first biotopes. So these are life, and maybe you can even explain that concept for people. But then the idea was to have multiple centers kind of replicating this and working together to have these nodes. How has it worked in practice, maybe? And what's your guys' partners for collaborating? What are the lessons 30 years later?
Well, we have gone through many changes. Yeah, we have first
Mm-hmm.
it was just one big group living together and really finding out what are the principles of a community. What is with problems of authority, problems of competition, problems of jealousy. So all this was the issue around this. And then at some point it was almost enough. We had it was kind of repetition. Then we separated, the whole group separated, and we lived 2 years in the so-called, we call it our diaspora, where we didn't have a center. And we all had to see, we went into the different cities. We met in certain occasions, like summer and winter camps or so, but we were more or less separated. And this was a phase where I can say we developed something in our inner, which was not there when you just are a group body, you know. There you can easily adapt to common sayings, to common clothes, to common behavior, and you lose your own identity, or you lose your individuality more. And this made us some left the whole experiment, but at some point we all came together again and said, okay, now it's time to have a new center. And so we started to have a new center. We wanted to have actually two, one in Germany and one in more southern country where the spiritual work could happen, a little bit remote from political work. This did not really work out. So we came all to Portugal at some point and created here the healing biotope. We bought the land and we came here very slowly to first almost listen to the land, what the land wants, before we put all our energy into it and said this has to be here and that has to be there. We made a lot of art, and slowly the group grew. And then that was around 2000, 2001, we were very much touched by what was happening in the Middle East or in Israel, Palestine. And we started our international work. That's where it started. And then since then we have like connections into that part of the world. We have connections into Africa, especially also to South America, Central South America, and of course into Europe and Australia. Not so much into Asia and the United States also, of course, and Canada. So we have partners, and we learned a lot through these partners because these were mainly projects in the global south. So we got to know their life and they got to know our life, and we understood that we are both in the same boat, that we really want a new planet. We don't want yeah. And for them
New
it was
system
crucial.
on our planet.
Yeah. A new system on our planet, yeah. And that we learned, yeah, as I said, we learned a lot from them. We visited, they came, that was, and then we also had to start to look for the next generation to come in. That is now still a process we are in, and we still are not through it. Because that's a very difficult phase. Almost all communities have failed so far, or all from the foundation, from the thoughts and from charismatic leaders, to a community which is really based on thoughts and not on persons. So we are still on it, and we hope we manage, because it's so what I carry in my heart through all this time is I learned so much about love, I learned so much about myself, about my shadow sides, about what I did, what I regret. It's almost like a washing machine, where
Mm,
these 40 years, it wasn't always nice, not a bit,
mhm,
and still I am now in a state in my inner where I can say I wake up every morning with in thankfulness and in gratitude towards what I can experience, and with a wish to bring this endeavor to a success, so that everyone can live like this.
mm,
Yeah, and Tamera has a reputation in the world for many people. It is a place where they they don't need to live here. It's for them important that it exists, that such
mhm,
an endeavor exists, that
mhm,
there are people really trying to do it. Yeah, that's already important. And for this, I want Tamera to thrive and to survive.
mm,
It's not about me. It's not about my person. It's about
mhm.
this light of hope. Yeah,
Life without violence.
yeah. It's a
Mm,
spark. It's not a light. It's little,
okay,
but it's strong. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Is it scalable? How do we do this on so I'm sure you spend a lot of time thinking about this and you guys. So Tamir is also like a research center, but also a school for those who don't know, and it's a live-in community. So it has many of
Yeah.
this, and like you just mentioned, partners. So maybe like you can tell us a little bit how the experiments are performed and who takes roles at what, and then if this thinking of scaling comes up and what you guys think about that.
But we are not yet. Um, it is as if you would invent a machine. Let's say we would invent a machine. Yeah. It's this
Uh-huh.
trauma-free group, and we are not yet there. So it will not
Okay.
scale up until we are there. We reach it. There are a lot of community experiments in the world, and they are really also beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And still, the deepest point hasn't yet, as if you would invent a new machine or maybe an AI, but a different
Okay.
AI, a different human intelligence, which is made out of a body of people, not a single one, not an enlightened guru, as it was maybe in former times, or maybe also the enlightened guru is a good thing. But what we
Mm-hmm.
now need, and also Thich Nhat Hanh has said it, the new Messiah will be a group,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be a community. Even Van Gogh said it, that the paintings of the future, he said, will be made by a group and not by a single painter. So
Mm-hmm.
this picture of having a single person be the enlightened has to be replaced by a group of people, and this group is then replicable, because this will scale up, and we haven't
Mm-hmm.
reached it yet. And my dream, or my thinking, my strategy is, or also I share it with quite some other people here, that we will establish once an education, maybe 2 years or something, for young people. And this is maybe, yeah. And when we give them our knowledge, yeah, again, when we try again to do this, they have a different starting point for it. So they could maybe carry it then. We have to try. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from the mistakes we already did, and start over anew and say, okay, we will try again. We have to find this group of young people who find the key in eros and love.
Mm-hmm.
That's our help, because we
Bingo.
didn't have an older generation.
Yeah, we had to do all well, you guys, especially the younger, and now it's my generation and now the next generation coming up.
Yeah, and
That's
then we
something
know.
that,
Hmm.
yeah, tell me. Uh-huh.
I
Sorry.
just wanted to say that this is something what we didn't have, and through this combination, it might be even better that they can have it then, that they will
Exactly.
carry on with the work, no?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Different
something.
starting point because you had a lot more traumas
Hmm.
again to clean.
Right,
So that's like
right.
a major, because
Yeah,
it's what
yeah.
we inherited, but we also like I was cleaning my family traumas. So it's not just mine, but the generations.
Right,
And that
right.
was difficult work
Yeah.
that now we don't have to pass those on. So and when we fix the present, we fix the past, and all of these things kind of work on the quantum.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's something that I would like, that actually rings a bell, because look, Monica, this is my next, oh wow, speaking of the boys, this is like maybe the football fans, but this is my paper. I'm actually going to close the window. Hang on, they're too loud. Um, this is my newest paper that is actually just speaking what you said, but what I this is the principles of emergent civilizations. So how do we actually get to the new systems, and how do we develop these new systems? And the first principle 0 is that the primary unit of civilization is not the individual, it is the relationship. What they're pushing us in now, and what kind of the whole colonial system was very much engineered. So this is why we live in these systems of prediction, control, optimization. But in fact, if we really went back to life, we will have relationships, the primary unit, and all these things would emerge. Because, this is that beauty of life. And so I kind of divide it into trust, and then there's the logics and relational field and so on. But it's exactly kind of what you're saying. It's like we're past this. So this is kind of where I'm working at now. So when you were also mentioning some of the work that we could do, that would be great. I've been a teacher for like 15 years, and this is part of my work, is actually putting all this knowledge into teachable ways for young people that activate, right? We don't want to pass on the knowledge like this, and those structures are disappearing too, which is again this old way, but it's somehow creating these. This is my work now. I'm calling it emergence theater too. It's like creating conditions where this almost like osmosis and learning happens, like a web. So it's a lot of work, but in this kind of way that everything, even like, okay, we're still talking in the old kind of ways. Where was the beginning? Where was the source and all of this? But in fact, this is like a bit of the old thinking, because every system, what brought me to this emergence theory is that I think about academia, and everything has to have its source, but the source is only what's been done already. And in art, it should have a reference. And so we have all these institutions that keep reproducing the stuff. And that limits the creation of truly new, which is what we need now, right? We've outrun these systems, and this is where we're kind of at the edge of this old that's dying, old world and everything. But the new one is having a very hard time emerge because it's so tied to this process of reproduction. So what are the conditions that we need for the new, truly new, to emerge?
I mean, I have to again go to the beginning of your talk when you say they have done this and that. Yeah, these are always it's like a hook. I don't. When you say this, I know from myself that as long as I was not aware about my trauma, there is something in me which acts against my will in a bad way. And who is now the subject of me or whoever? I can say, as long as we don't see that we contribute to everything, what is happening, that it is almost a mechanism, a traumatic. Our whole capitalist system is an automatic energy wheel, which is driven by all of our traumas. There is not a single person or not a they. It's all of us. And then when you ask about the new, I can say, when I now look into myself, I can say, what is really new in me? Then it is something where I cleared off in myself a point where I all of a sudden see that there is also a good force, which I did not believe in anymore because I thought there was nothing. I see a good, so-called good force working. I see that I get answers on my questions. I don't, I see, I experience it. I see that even behind diseases, there is something good, what wants to come into my awareness, or without betraying myself, without being naive, without lying. I can see, I start to believe again. That's something maybe our heart can start to open. There is the new. After thousands of years of closed hearts, of almost acting out our trauma, all of a sudden there is a spark of warmth. Our heart warms up, and then we cannot say they anymore. It's gone, yeah, because we can. Yeah, this is maybe the new, that our human heart starts to become vital again in very
Bingo.
close situation, and then I myself close it. This is something um where I see I am the one who decides. And then I need to have companions. I need to have friends where we can say, okay, let's focus on this new together. Let's see where the new is in other people. And for example, we have a group of women around my age, and we have built a group where we see each other's shadow sides and weaknesses, and we see each other beauty. And this is, for example, something new, yeah, where some years ago I wouldn't have seen this. I would say, ah, they go on my nerves, or this, and so on. And we see it now, it's not gone. But the new thing is that we see also the beauty. And so maybe it's very, very fresh, very almost not yet born. It's something very fragile.
Fragile.
Mm,
That's beautiful, Monica. Totally. The human heart, because we feel it in
mm,
ourselves. That is the new,
yeah.
that is emerging, is
Mm,
this unbruised and actually
yeah.
finally
And
opening
then,
heart.
yeah, then you notice it was never
Mm,
broken, you
exactly.
know?
Right. But it was this guarding where, and that takes us back to the beginning of that other, right? It's hard to approach the other with curiosity or with openness
Yeah.
when you have a fear that you will be
Sure. As long
bruised and
as, yeah.
attacked and all of this.
And
So
that's the
that's very much.
colonialism inside of us. As long as we let
Mm-hmm.
ourselves be reigned by fear, we
Mm-hmm.
are the ones who colonize ourselves by this fear.
Exactly.
And that we have to get rid of. And we have to find a trust where
Mm-hmm.
we do not lie to ourselves. We cannot, if
Mm-hmm.
we are fearful, we have to accept it. We
Mm-hmm.
can, that's not heroic to say, oh, I go
Mm-hmm.
beyond my fear. No, that's not wish. But to really let go of the fear, because you find more and more and more trust.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you need people for this. Without people you cannot do it.
Exactly. But then let's maybe then scale back. Um, and again, you're right. Like this goes back to this um, system production that's kind of inherent in my discussion, which you always pick up on, of this the original source of this distortion, which is unnamed and that kind of perpetuates the systems. But in this cosmovision of yours and Tamera is like, where does it come from? What is the source of this? Because you're not ignoring it, right? That's not an option. Is to recognize there are wars, there are systems working inherently against life. And what is this? How do you explain it, or how do you talk to it? Where do you
I
put
mean,
it?
I see the cosmos as let's say we can also ask the question, and the 4-year-old is asking us, who is God?
Mm-hmm.
Who made us
Mm-hmm.
actually? And when we go back and then say, okay, my grandparents made from them and them and them, we never jump to another level. But God is on another level. We can say God is like a pole where all the information goes in and is transformed and goes back to the beings, to the different beings. We
Mm-hmm.
could think of it like this, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a neuron or something, like a huge brain. And whatever all the beings do comes back to the center, and the center digests all of this and gives the knowledge back to all the beings. Yeah, that's maybe a very simple picture. And the same thing happens with our trauma. All our traumas also act out and almost create an own identity. And then everything like this is also like it acts as if there was a being, but there is no being. There is the sum of all the trauma goes into an independent decisions which are made. All of them are made out of trauma. If you look, our hospitals are full of trauma. It's actually the fear of bacteria that they could kill us, or we are always conquering something, or the fear is all over. It's from childhood on, and the apocalypse and the Third World War, and we live in this environment of fear and create fears all over, because that's all of this is fed by all traumas from all people. So this is how I see it.
Okay.
And it's in
So
my
it is like a
decision.
collection, a projection into this. Because again, reality is energy frequency that's then materialized through our own engagement or putting of the focus on whatever that is. So accumulation of traumas over time and separation, right? That would then result in this. So the solution is to build trust, like what you're saying with Tamera, and then eventually turn off those programs that are fed by this.
Yes, and then you come to a point where you say, when we succeed, and not we, when there is this group, this communitarian messiah I was talking about,
Okay.
where all of a sudden everything is dissolved. It is as if the humanity could wake up, saying, it is possible, this is human being, something like this. And this can create a big shift. Like David Bohm was a physicist. He was not even very, in human beings. He was not a psychologist or something, but he said maybe 10, maybe 50, maybe 100 people with one mind can give a spark to the consciousness of humanity, which could direct it in a new way. Could give a spark of humaneness, or of waking up, or of how. But to create these 10 or 50 or 100, that's a big thing. That's a huge endeavor. And not only he is saying it, I just say it because you don't expect somebody like this saying such words. Also, spiritual people have said it. And it's an assumption. We can say, okay, we don't know, but we can try. Let's try.
There's I'll screen share and show you this of the a book that actually is written by a physicist. I'm not sure if I can maybe like this, but yeah, can you see?
Yeah.
So it's a woman also, she's a quantum physicist. You might like it, I'll send it to you, it's online, but meeting the universe halfway. So she actually, all these things that we kind of mentioned from the spiritual and experiential point of view, she's explaining through quantum physics. So how matter and meaning interact to then create these realities. And as you see, it's like 500 pages.
Wow.
And it's a very nice work of dealing with this. Like she really goes the science and ethics of mattering and meeting the universe halfway. So it's that, like once we understand these processes, what is our role and how do we then again develop these systems that will produce that meaning. So yeah, I mean, first is like you say trauma work, and I call it decolonizing because it's like they colonize their minds. And again, I'll say they, but like the process that happened is resulted in having like, yeah, very deep work. So that's the first thing we do is to
create space for the opening of the heart to occur, and safe space. So that's, I think, maybe where Tamera is very successful, and where you guys attract people for that, to be able to actually be that human in a way.
I mean, that's now because we have it so often with the they, no? It's we have to find a language, not only a consciousness, which is aware that there is a unity and not ignoring differences within the unity. So that's our task, because that's reality. Reality exists of both poles, of the unity pole and of the pole of differences. And that we don't, because often in this sphere where we speak about colonialism, and so it's very polarizing. It's very dividing, and that's exactly what we do not want. We want to find back unity, but I don't want to say that they're wrong. But if you really look into it, you can see how much trauma there is, because they always want to find someone to blame at the end, instead of seeing that it is coming from all of us. And this blaming the other creates a polarity, or which then is almost against our peace work, because there it's about reconciliation, about finding each other again, so that we can have companionship, or a solidarity which is not based that we all say the same thing. This is not what I mean. That's collective. That's a collective. I want a diversity which is aware of its unity, like this.
Exactly.
And we can only create a unity if we accept each other's diversities. But in
That's
this
what this
language,
work is like the roots. So this book that I was showing you that's coming, it's like it has to, each contribution comes from a deeply rooted self. So that's the book I'm writing, is this post-identity politics. But what they've done, and you're saying this correctly, is like they use these beautiful differences to put it as against, instead of it being part of the same tree.
And still we
So,
have to name the aggressor.
but you have to. So that was my next
yeah.
point, is like when I go to Spain and Portugal on this mission, and I had issue because they invited people from Brazil and Angola, the Balkans, and Nepalese, who is a local, like an immigrant. So all of us representing, and few Portuguese people. Like there was a Portuguese descendant and a black Brazilian girl, and then 3 Angolans, man and women. And we were exposed to some of the aspects of the Portuguese culture, like this dance that's named after a big farm, or like essentially like a plantation in Brazil. It's still very kind of conservative and everything, but nobody's recognizing that. Or I go to Seville, and like Columbus is still praised, and there's zero access to the files that tell the truth about the exploitation, but nobody addresses that. And so you have to, that first part is decoding to really, my page is called Truth, because that's where the trust comes from. We cannot build trust on like false premises, but it's not to separate us, it's to unite us. And that's the difference. Like if you approach it with this concept of actually healing, it's the same thing. Like, in the Balkans, like there's not going to be real healing until everybody's ready to sit down, face themselves and face the other. But in this other, the same kind of way. Again, it's that lens. So even the slight changes that we introduce to this colonized brain is giving us that extra step of approach that opens that space for emergence and coherence to come.
That's, I mean, for me, it is much more complex. When I read the books about modern colonialism, starting with Columbus or starting with, then I go back, and then I notice that from the time on when the big separation happened, let's put it that way, no? We don't know how, but that was maybe 3,000, 4,000 before Christ, something like this. We can even trace it back. You can see, okay, maybe it's true that there before that was a non-violent culture. We don't know. There might be, And then we notice that violence has spread. From then on, somehow violence took over. I know
Mhm.
from the very early times that there was an animistic, like shamanistic way of looking into the world. Everything had a soul, there were many gods. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden there came this male concept, there's only one God. What they
Mhm.
wanted to say was that there is something which is the same in everyone. They
Mhm.
didn't want to oppose it, but it came to an opposition. So that they
Mhm.
say, so there's only one God, you cannot pray to your other gods anymore.
Mhm.
And then all the female was erased. And
Mhm.
still, you can trace it back that even to indigenous cultures all over the planet, they accepted violence. Violence came into their culture. And this
Mhm.
was not done by colonialism. It was done by a field. And
Mhm.
I know from some researchers who even analyzed it, how all of a sudden the rituals took place, like the sacrifices, where they
Mhm.
tried they couldn't prevent the violence from coming, but they could kind of turn it into a ritual and then have it outside of their communities. This was an
Mhm.
attempt. And this is only one theory I'm now telling, but it
Mhm.
makes sense for me that this violent field was there. And I don't want to apologize to colonizers, which then came. What happened then
Mhm.
was really cruel. But I want to
Mhm.
say that it's too simple for me, this picture.
Mhm.
It is much more complex with what we deal here. And
Mhm.
then when the colonizers came and when they really murdered so many people and killed and brought diseases and exploited earth, it was cruel what happened then. All the human relations were torn apart. And that was also done by a trauma. When I look into the colonizers, when I feel into them, they
Mhm.
felt so dense. They were so, the life energy was so suppressed that they almost broke out into the world and spread their violence across the
Mhm.
globe. So that also had a reason. It wasn't that all
Mhm.
of a sudden only the white people were these bad ones. And
Mhm.
this is, for me, these pictures are too simple.
I don't mean to say that it's like the indigenous people were amazing in this, but I'm talking
Yeah.
like present day addressing. If we're like, because I'm always kind of basing myself, yes, we have this knowledge and we're getting it, but it's always this now. So that's one of the concepts I'm working with is like also this pregnant now. Like again, it's always if we fix today, we also fixing the past. It's this kind of quantum time. So if we're like looking to heal these wounds, um, on a political level, from like a political shamanism perspective,
Mhm.
what are the sources, like the real kind of pressure points from which we can start that will provide this kind of coil effect that are key? So in that case, I kind of see this decolonial is like recognizing really the role because I spent a lot of time now in South America before, and then
Mhm.
I was in Africa. So
Mhm.
it somehow the field took me to these places. And this was like Mexico, this heart of the Mayan civilization, and Peru, the uncolonized, let's say in the recent years, um, Pachamama, like the high Andes region,
Mhm.
and then Colombia, which I covered all, which was kind of, again, I think I mentioned to you, is like heart of Abya Yala, this movement. So none of this is being done yet in Europe in a really kind of serious way because nobody's ready to face that. But it has to be, like you said, Monica, it's not just like one place. This has to be like a global effort. So it's not about saying these guys are good, these guys are bad. It's about really seeing the source of in this particular moment, where can we start working that would produce this effect? Maybe like that's the, because we're kind of getting away from the mystical into the practical 3D now. And this is where I was seeing, because maybe I'm so fresh from Portugal and Spain. You know what happened? Like this was like a mystical experience. I went to, because, I don't know. So the first city I was in Cordoba, which was where the meeting of the Arab civilization, and it has all these layers. So what I'm actually tracking is I'm seeing the cities are disappearing. Energy is being pulled from the cities because maybe this new smart cities are coming.
It's just not invested. It's almost like people are performing. There's a performance of culture. So the Spanish are very much about their breakfast and coming, and everything is very like structured, and it's life happens on these like squares in front of the churches and neighborhoods. And Cordoba, I was living in the old town, and you could see so many of these layers of cultures, and everything kind of survived together, but now none of it will survive this newest thing that's coming. It looks like it because it's just like falling apart. And the way I also look at the field is by the state of water. So all the fountains, like I was in this neighborhood that had the first water, for example, in Faro. I went to Faro, the most southern point of Portugal, for my birthday to Desert Island, and I like brought this. And this neighborhood was the first in the 60s. They got water in the neighborhoods for communal use, but it was the fountains were empty, and I found dead birds, like 4 dead birds in the fountains, and I buried the birds. Birds for me is like always. And then in Cordoba, like the water was like some places mostly like polluted, dirty, like all the fountains were just reflecting decay. And this is kind of where the cities are in these days. But I was leaving Cordoba and thinking like, oh, there was no dead birds. It's good. But then 100 meters later, I see a bird on the ground, so beautiful, but this was not decaying. She was still alive. But she was fighting for life. She was not a bird from that region. And then all these Spanish people started helping me. I went on the other side, and then this older lady who was actually tone deaf, she ended up taking the bird. We gave her water. She came to life. So this was like a beautiful sign that actually life's coming back instead of just being buried. And then I went to Seville, and Seville was the culmination because this is where uh, the archive of all the, they call it indies, was right, but it's performative. Again, people don't have access. It's just showing all the info they have, but in fake books. I don't know if you know what it looks like. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Seville is like the biggest archive of all the expeditions because the river was there. So again, that's where Columbus was leaving from, and that's kind of the center of the empire at that time. So in one huge square is everything is concentrated, the power of this old empire. It's like the King's Quarter, but then the huge archive, which has, they say, 70 meters of wall materials, like from top to bottom, but they're all fake books. They're keeping them in other places, but they're showing you just what they have. And it just looks kind of like ridiculous. So it's like all these fake books, 70 meters of them, just covers, and no real material for people to see, and like portraits of Columbus and all the explorers. And across is the cathedral, the main Seville cathedral, which is actually so elaborate that it's such a example of this extraction that was concentrated there. So after the archive, I was like really exhausted. I was like, I'm not going to go into the cathedral. It's like waiting in line. It's expensive. I'm like, maybe today's not the day. And then I'm walking, and this gate is calling me, like the side gate. And I'm like, should I enter? Like, there's no way this is open. But I approach, and I see that there's no lock. And it's like a massive, I don't know, 50-meter gate with this huge metal thing. And sure enough, I pull it, and it's like moving. It's not locked. But it took all my power to move that metal thing and then open the door. And usually what I saw inside is like always guards there. It's like the entrance to the crypt. But the way was open. And it was almost like I had to enter. I just like pushed the gate a little closed, and I found myself like inside, right in the middle of this crypt. So after all this time, 500 years later, after South America, after Africa, everything I saw, the Portuguese and the Spanish, Columbus is still in the center of Seville with 4 huge like knights holding him, the grave. It's so elaborate, it's so rich. Everywhere is gold. It's like insane. And there's zero reflection. You see, that's what I mean. There's like zero, there's not a single trace anywhere in that archive, on that square, in that cathedral that says maybe what we've done has been a little brutal.
I
And the
mean, they
year is
shouldn't.
2026.
Hmm.
You see, that's not the good starting point for us to approach the other. And from that's what I mean. I talk from this pregnant present is like, what is our one coil that we can activate that opens the possibility for that emergence? And they're not ready. Like they kicked me out in Portugal because I was asking those questions among the Brazilians, among the Angolans, as a Balkanian, saying like, hey guys, like, how about this? And they said, that's a dark part of our history. You're too heavy. That's what they told me. They said, that's too heavy. We don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Um,
That was a long
I'm,
intro. Sorry, Monica, but that's kind of like where we are, I think, with that question.
yeah, where you are. I'm not there.
But no,
I,
not
I'm,
you,
I'm
but
in,
I mean the
yeah.
society, because that is still like we are entering into a new age, but we haven't addressed those wounds. And I'm telling you, this is firsthand experience of 3-year field work of covering Colombia, of covering Mexico. So it's not like I invented this. This is, I'm telling, like I told you the story to show you how the field takes me. It's
This
not something I
I
choose.
understand you. I
Yeah.
understood that there should have been, or there can be, or I have a different view on this. And I
Mm.
don't want to miss yours because I understand what you mean, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand that we have, when we want to talk to people from the global south, from other places, then we as the white ones have to understand how we are regarded, and that we really see what our race has done.
Mm-hmm.
This,
Mm-hmm.
the identification with it, okay. As for me, I'm born as German, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost born in guilt. I was bathed in guilt. My guilt was
Mm-hmm.
all over. Yeah, it was. I didn't have to go to colonialism. I was already here with the Third World War and with everything what happened. That was much closer for me, and I had to deal with it already from early age on. I couldn't understand. It was. I was shocked when I found out, when I heard and found out, and this was happening in my environment, in the world where I lived, you know. And of
Mm.
course, then I came also across what has happened to the indigenous population in the United States and in Africa, all over. I got to know this, and still, I have to say that when I look what Columbus has done, at,
Mm-hmm.
that he opened a door where then the whole where it, he opened a door to a suppressed energy in the Middle Ages, or in the not Middle Ages only, but 500 years back, a population which was kind of caged. And then all of a sudden, this energy spread out and did really harm.
Mm.
Um, but he himself, when I look, what he has done to convince those giving him money to find a new way to India. And all the ones said, yeah, you will drop off the horizon or something. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not true. And he brought people who could prove that or something. And then he got his little ship, and he was courageous. I mean,
Mm.
he was not the one who killed all those. We have to differentiate. The pictures are sometimes for me too black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And also to go into these person who killed them, what really drives them, I have to understand it. I have to understand them in myself, then I can dismantle it. As long as I point to others and say it's you,
Mm-hmm.
i, I don't understand anything. I perpetuate the war.
Mm.
And I have to find in myself, and also in my karmic history, what I have done. And the guilt feeling I felt when I was a German was not only the German guilt feeling, it was mine, my
Mm.
personal one, because I did wrong things in the past. And
Mm.
that was deep to discover this. And this, I
Mm.
don't want to say this systemically. Of course, the system operates fully out of all the traumatic logic. It's
Mm-hmm.
how it is. The system is made out of. The system which comes from divine or from a free person will also have a logic, but a different
Mm-hmm.
one. Then they will have a sign. Then we can say we apologize for the past. But as long as I speak with traumatic people and say, hey, you are the Portuguese and the Spanish or the white, or I accuse people who are already accused by themselves, and they will defend. So I actually perpetuate the war. And I don't say that it is wrong what you're saying. Also, not with the Columbus statue. I haven't seen it. But I saw, for example, I was at the source of, I think it was even the Tiro River in Spain. And right on the source, right above it, was a huge statue of a colonializer. In this, where the spring comes out of. I mean, what an information for that river. I thought we should destroy this. It was incredible what people might think who put that statue up there. We didn't destroy it, but yeah. And we as humans have to do so much reconciliation work once we come together as humans and start again to revitalize this planet. But before, I don't want to go into these wars.
Right. That's beautiful. And it's like recognizing it in yourself. And that's, yes, maybe those are the missing pieces. But it's not necessarily accuse, it's an invitation to be brave like them, to actually open these things, because that's the hard part. And that's not, I mean, sometimes my role is like a bit like I honestly come into a place and then these things surface. Again, it's not me choosing, and this doesn't happen on a mental level. It happens on this field level. And it's just information like starts almost like like a rose, like a layer by layer until we get to this core wound, then that can offset the system. But the humans, like, this is what I saw this quote too the other day. Everybody's preferring comfort still, and the times that are coming are not calling for comfort. That's why we're kind of having this maybe discussion, is to really start, like, from a deep place of heart and compassion, with the intention of, like you said, building this new emergence, new field, to start having hard talks. And a lot of the damage was done by this like academic and political correctness and everything that's really keeping the people. It's that surface level, a surface love, surface talk, surface, that's just using the energy and not really touching anything in us. And it's getting worse with the, like, but maybe a lot of, like, we're just opening this, Monica, and we don't have to spend like stuff on that. But you said like school and the kids. Let's maybe try to bring the beauty of it.
I don't know.
Or
I need to interrupt because I don't know how long this talk will now be. I don't have endless time, so that's why I say if you would have now, if I would get a picture of how long you want to have this talk to still be.
We just opened the field like we said today,
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe we can start wrapping up if you're busy. That's definitely
That would be great.
like maybe 20 minutes still, if you'd like just to kind of get the beauty stuff. But the kids, the generations, like what you said, they would have a starting point. And you guys have had 30 years at Tamera, and I went to the school there, and we discussed with the teachers some of the beautiful ways that this space, I would say this, it's less about kind of dogma and teaching the kids and more about giving them the space to discover, which I kind of really appreciated. But what is your experience with this? Are these kids having a different starting point? And when you interact with them, do you see differences in terms of their worldview and how they're putting these things?
I mean, they grow up in an environment where they have like 100, 200 adults with all the people around, and they know their names. They know they grow up in an environment where they can feel safe. They can walk wherever. There is no. They don't have to take care that their cars. I mean, yes, they do, but it's not a city environment. It's just a very friendly environment for them, and that's in the first years of their life they spend in a situation where I think, of course, it has an impact on them. It must have, no? And then they get into a school system where they are not immediately need to fulfill all what needs to be fulfilled, that they need to write and to read, that they get more space when they're ready to learn it. So yes, it must have an impact. And most of those who grow up here, they have a very good time when they go back into the society, let's say, because they are so social. No, they can adapt. They are strong. They know what they want. So in that sense, yes. What they haven't done yet is to come back and to say, okay, we need to create Tamera. They are up till now, they still want to explore themselves. And slowly some are coming back, but yeah. So this we have to see what then the lasting change is. Yeah.
It's that's beautiful because it's safety, and this is where most of us feel kind of attacked and threatened, so that some of that trauma is coming from that separation again, where we're not embedded into the environment. And for me, it's still separation from earth as the first. And most success I have when I work with women in the Balkans for healing is to reconnect them to earth, to this
I mean,
feeling of that.
one thing also what is very important is that mama and papa, they even when they are separated and they live both still on this in this place, that the children know about this, that they are not bound into a small family with all the emotions going on, but that they have an environment where they can trust that even when there are difficulties between mama and papa, that they know about it. And even if they have new relationships, that the old one is not gone. So that's also a very important point, that the emotional stability.
That's beautiful because it's the truth of then being explored. So if you're in a hurry, I'm feeling like you wanting to kind of close,
I'm not in a
Monica.
way.
So
I'm noticing that my energy goes down.
yes, I can tell. But because we went into those heavy talks of Columbus and stuff.
Yeah, but that's good.
But that's, of course, that drains our energy. But
Yeah.
maybe to finish is this concept of love, like what you said is like radical, because you opened the talk saying Tamara is like a radical community, maybe the most radical one, and I would agree in some ways is, and now we end up to the family, which is the relationship and what kind of children that produces from that concept of love. So maybe wrapping up with that, like you can even bring in your partnership and how does this, because it's also not just monogamy, but it's an open ecosystem that's very experimental in some kind of ways.
So, I mean, monogamy belongs to free love. When two people really are happy and really it's their truth, then it's fine. But if it's not the truth of one of the partners and one falls in love with another one, normal society would say, now this is the betrayal, and now I kill him, and now love is over, yeah? And I would say, and also experienced, that this is actually the beginning of love. Now it's the point where love comes from a purely emotional level to a more, we say now, geistig level, and use a German word, we put it into the English language. It's coming to a level where, another level where I understand that I am the source of love and not the other person, and that I have to stay faithful now and not fall into jealousy and fall into this and that, and that I understand that the other one falling in love with other people is not something against me, but it is his way or her way to explore more, to ripen, to mature. And if I say no, the love is only, you only have to love me, it's very childish, because that's not the way how love functions. Love is expansion, is exploration. It's very different, and there also women and men function very differently. That in the moment when I open to love, and I have this, I made this experience in my life, the most beautiful weekend you can imagine, the most deep love, and so much, whatever you wanted, you got it at this weekend. We come home, and the man immediately opens up and goes to other women, and me standing there and saying, hey, what is this now? And then to understand that he experienced such a deep home, that from then on now he is safe enough to go out And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it is the place where I want to hold him. And
Mm-hmm.
there are so many conflicts arises because that's not understood. That this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what actually um, that he doesn't want to leave you, but he wants to share. He wants to open his heart, share it with others. And
Mm-hmm.
when he comes back, it's the deepest reconnection you can imagine when you don't start and argue and say and so on. Yeah. And this I had to learn. That was a deep
Mm-hmm.
learning, I can tell you. And I also failed in it often. Um, and I myself also love more than one. The capacity to love is huge. And that
Mm-hmm.
also caused difficulties in him. I don't want to say that this is only on one side, yeah. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
learn to find a point in ourselves where love is stable because it's my love, it's my opening, and I
Mm-hmm.
can stay faithful to it, and nothing will run. I will not lose anything with this. I
Mm-hmm.
will get all the experiences I want to have. Yeah, but that's a learning that takes long time.
What's
And
more unlearning, I would say, like, because now when I'm
yeah,
listening to you, it's like very natural this, but a
mm,
lot of those traumas come because we try to put this kind of label or box and stuff, and then you get injured because you have these projections or
yeah,
expectations and things.
yeah,
Yeah, but then it's kind of like unlearning. But there, I mean, if we go back to my day, but the system that was imposed, part of it is the marriage institution from the male
yeah,
side because
yeah.
of this control, exactly.
I mean, that was the suppression of the women, and now we as women say we only want to have this monogamy, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
but that was exactly where we started to be suppressed because our
Exactly.
heart and our nature is much wider than being there only for one man.
But
Did
that's
you
that colonized mind again. That's what
again?
we mean by colonized. It's like,
Yeah.
again, it's the unnatural structures imposed on the natural order
Mm,
to create easier management.
mm,
I would call it like that. It's what they do to kids in these school systems. Like I was a teacher in every country and around the world studying this precisely, and it's the same pattern everywhere.
mm,
Maybe the closest kind of opening I saw in New Zealand, Aotearoa, because they have very strong kind of Maori roots, but it's also connection with land. And they call themselves like post-capitalist, really. So they accept this concept of like free-range children, like the free-range chickens. And
my
the
dog is
children
here
are
and wants food. I'm
yes,
distracted.
but not. But no, it's like they love their animals. It's a very natural kind of country in some ways. Um, it was a lovely learning experience, but again, they don't have those maybe same things like in Tamera. It's no ownership, right? They say kaitiaki, they're the guardians, and just these few like frameworks change a lot in the approach. Because if you see yourself as a guardian instead of an owner, um, it's a whole different energy, production, investment, and flow that comes from that. It opens the system. Beautiful.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Miss Monica. We can thank our guides and anybody else. And if you have any closing thoughts or anything that comes. But again, this is World Peace One. So we're just taking like the little pieces of how we get to this world that's beautiful, that's human, that's earth, that's connected, that's magical, and all of us want to experience.
Mm.
Hmm.
Thank you for your being and for your wisdom and your beauty.
Thank you, Miss Monica, for all of this to you too, and for all the layers and so many spirals that you bring from one heart to the other. We'll leave it like that.
Okay.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much. Say
Yeah.
bye to Tamara.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See you soon.